Hey there, Internet. Welcome to another episode of the John Graves Show. And today I wanted to talk to you about the 30 frames per second thing. I mean, more specifically, I want to talk about the Order 1886. Honestly, it's a game that pretty much I know nothing about. And seriously, I haven't checked out a trailer for it. All I know is that it is a PlayStation 4 game and that apparently they are making news articles on it. And honestly, I kind of want it. I'm gonna check out the game like after this. However, I'm basically kind of stating a point here is that I'm checking out the news article that says Order 88 will run at 30 frames per second on PlayStation 4. And honestly, this is a thing which is starting to kind of become a trend. Or it's kind of the thing in which that a lot of news articles, or at least like news gaming journalists feel is that, you know, it needs to be talked about. And this honestly kind of reminds me of the thing of all the way back when multiplayer was a hit and every game had to have multiplayer in it, because if it didn't, everybody was disappointed. And not too long ago, it was the whole graphics thing, which that a lot of people are still honestly kind of on the graphics thing. Now we've moved on to the frames per second trend, in which that it makes or breaks a game. It's not the game story, it's not the gameplay, it's the frame rate. Just like how the multiplayer was the big thing back in the early 2000s when Xbox Live kind of became the go-to thing, and after Halo became popular and they had to shoehorn those in. And just like how every game, you know, that did have high graphics, everybody was kind of like bashing the game because of like low slow ends and I mean like slow loading textures. But at the same time, it's like, hey, it looks good, right? You know, that's kind of the thing where people would hate on games like Disgaea in terms of games like, you know, like Crysis 2 or something like that, you know. And they have right to, but I'm like, at the same time, it's like, yeah, that's not what makes a game. And at the same time, this is kind of the same thing, because I'm going to read off the little thing here. It's like, currently, we do not aim for 60 frames per second, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure that makes sense. Also, fighting games are undoubtedly precedent for 60 frames per second, but for us, cinematic experience for a whole, blah, 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 60 frames per second. The favorite specular, considering Infamous Second Son is a gorgeous game and it looks slick at 30 frames per second. Fans looking forward to this game will not be disappointed at like 60 frames per second, blah, blah, blah. Now, honestly, I kind of make this a point as to not say that this game, it will be bad because it is 30 frames per second. I am not saying that this game that I know nothing about, and I do honestly admit that pretty much that this frames per second thing, I have seen so many articles I mean, like back in January alone, are constantly stating that this game for PlayStation 4 will be 60 frames per second, and people getting angry or them trying to base which game is better, because the Xbox One version is 30 frames per second and the PlayStation 4 version is 60 frames per second. This is the watchdog thing all over again. And I gotta say that, yes, you know, I'm pretty sure that 1886, I mean, the Order 1886, which I believe is supposed to be I do kind of remember something about it. I think I remember that it was supposed to be a little bit like how it was supposed to focus way more on story, and I think it was a first-person shooter. Now, what the story was, I'm not necessarily sure. I may have to check into that, but as for the article alone, I'm like, this is not important news. It seriously isn't. Unless, man, you know, the game has some controversy, some controversial thing in it, or something which will actually help out the gameplay. Seriously, I don't know why you are reporting on it, because really it doesn't really matter in the frame rate department. And I wonder how many years it's going to take until people finally realize that frames really don't really matter all that much. So yeah, until then, I'll see you guys on the next John Graves Show. I am out. Keep keep watching anime and keep playing video games. Catch you guys next time.